Start with the simple one. When you think about committing to doing something daily and you want to do it for a year, that vision of 12 months is way out in the future. And it's hard to envision that being a heavy weight to carry all 365 days. The physical awareness and conscious health that you should have. And that is the best way to maintain the endurance.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to give us a follow so I can keep on bringing high-level guests like the one I have on today. Today's guest is a very special one. He's known as the Scripps Jedi, Scripps Master, super successful realtor, and also a good friend of mine. And he's helped me personally develop a lot of my sales skills and a lot of my script skills and a lot of my psychology behind sales and getting to know people. And so I'm super excited for this episode. It's been a long time coming. Without further ado, Chris, for anyone that may not know you, tell us your elevator pitch. Who are you and what do you do?
Well, thanks so much, John. It's an honor to be here. And I really am an honor to know you and have seen your journey in the business so far and the success you've made through your niche and being a real social media expert and showing other people how to do it too. So I'm honored to have seen that grow firsthand from our call. And I am a real estate realtor in both North Carolina and Texas. And I run a real estate coaching and training company, a virtual assistant company. And so part of that is what I bring to people like you and other realtors is we have a daily Scripps training where we get together and practice your words of real estate, getting just a warm up for the day so that things are easy and familiar and that you can go right into being purposeful with your real estate license.
Yeah, so that's amazing, Chris. And before all the success, before, all the coaching, before leading a call of over several hundred agents that come on daily and have over several thousand in your Facebook group. Take us a little bit back to the origin. Where does your walk to wealth begin? How does this journey start?
When we first moved to Houston, which is many, many moons ago, we began an entrepreneurial approach with fitness sales with the youth sports academy that we started. And we ended up building a company that had 19 different service locations, a coaching team of 5, and we're really focused on finding ways to serve people and get better results when you work together in those situations. And that naturally led to real estate and growing our teams through the real estate industry in the late 90s and early 2000s was an exciting journey in the early dimension of teams and collaboration within real estate. And that allowed us to build a very successful real estate business in Texas and Houston, Texas, and be recognized and featured in books like Shift and other real estate publications. My wife was honored with being one of the top 30 under 30 and by National Association of Realtors. So it's been a fun journey in the real estate industry and having now moved states and serviced North Carolina as well, seen that side of not only relocating within a city, but even doing state by state. So I've enjoyed bringing that to my clients that I do work with in both markets and advise my team in both markets.
Amazing, Chris. And let me just dive a little bit deeper into the time machine, a little bit further back. What was money like growing up? Where did this entrepreneurial spirit come from?
The freedom to create and do what we wanted to do has been what has really driven both me and my wife as our journey together as a couple. And honestly, it's just something that we had that courage to do it together. And I think that really helped build this, 30-year relationship that we've had and this great success in business so far.
Yeah. And Chris, let me ask you as well. Back around, your teenage years, 20 years, did you see yourself getting yourself into real estate or, getting yourself into entrepreneurship back then? What were your thoughts like or your plans like? Earlier on in your life, and did they end up, turning out how you were expecting at that time?
Well, you ask about that time, John. Back in that day, we used to go to the bulk grocery store at that time and buy giant boxes of Charms blow pops. I was a kid that took it to school in the backpack and sold 5 for $1 and would flip that box into, an extra $20 or $30 profit per box just by bringing lollipops to school and selling them to my friends. So that was me, I guess. I had the vision of that. And if they can sell us these chocolate bars for a bunch of money, they certainly can sell us that.
Yeah, definitely. And that kind of ended up, I guess, leading to where you are now. So that's a perfect segue to get into today's conversation a little bit. You've been able to find success in multiple industries, right? And duplicate it, repeat it. what is kind of like the process that you've been able to uncover, to find the success in all these different areas, whether it's, the fitness space or, the real estate space or now, the coaching, consulting and VA business space, you've been able to find success. Is there any repeated patterns or clues that you've been able to uncover that you share with people that are looking to start their journey?
What's keeping people from succeeding? If you're a small school and you can't afford a quality PE department, you just have a small budget. So you throw more money at it. If you group together with a couple other small schools, you could afford a quality instructor.
Yeah.
So when you go through some of these, applications of real estate services, what are the gaps that people are finding? When you see, how do they implement some of the tools that they're given? How are those companies showing up, delivering solutions, or are they offering other avenues of work that maybe if it isn't the right fit for that individual, they can't get the success that's promised?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Do you spend some time looking at the ways people interact with something? And if the seat didn't fit in the car, wouldn't you think about how to make it a more comfortable seat? Right? What's not working or what is working?
Let me ask you, Chris, right? So let's kind of take a little bit of a shift into like the real estate space, because I know you've been able to find success there. How that advice, same advice that you gave me just now, how did you and your wife apply that when you guys got into the real estate in Houston? What was it like you guys looking at for, the gaps? What problems and solutions were you trying to solve and bring answers to when you guys first got into the industry?
When one of the biggest opportunities that we had was working within the builder space in Houston. And we recognized that these sales agents who weren't licensed realtors in Texas, they don't have to be, they didn't engage in the level of training and productivity that the Real Estate Association, the HAR, which is the Houston, it's a very successful association of realtors, held us to a standard that would offer a great service to the public. The builders were missing out on how to do things like make sure they had enough photos on their listings on the MLS, because internet is important. It sounds crazy, John, but in 2004 and 5, we were still trying to convince people that the internet was going to be important. Right. I mean, so now listen, the consumer's on a computer looking at it at home, Mr. Builder, and they say, no, they're not. They're at the model park. They're driving in with their kids. We got to have cookies and, fresh vignettes and all this other stuff. I said, right, when they get there. But before they go, sometimes they decide not to come because you don't have enough pictures online. You don't have a level of support that understands where consumers are and what we're offering to consumers to keep them with us. Because in the real estate business, we like to work with customers to buy and sell houses. So when builders didn't see that opportunity, we offered that to them and said, listen, list it with us and we'll come up with an agreement that helps you and helps us. And that was the proposal that we made, and it made sense to them. And we had 19 communities at one time for Meritage Homes in Houston.
Yeah. So then let me ask you, right? So you found the opportunity there with builders and providing that level of service. In general, when it comes to entrepreneurship, how do you find that gap, right? No matter what industry you're kind of getting into, where do you look for? How do you gain the awareness to kind of see that? And because sometimes, as you know, when you provide a value, especially something that comes naturally to you, sometimes you don't see it as value. You just kind of do it, but other people find that value. So you sometimes overlook some gaps that you probably could fill. So what kind of advice would you give there so people can find that gap, fulfill it, start there instead of, searching for something that is impossible to find or something that the market doesn't even need, as you mentioned earlier?
If you begin with the space you enjoy, John, it's easiest. If you enjoy that whatever economic work activity that exists in fitness, nutrition, real estate, technology. So the guys are talking about going through Marshalls and all these things and just flipping products with that eBay app.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Who would have knew? But it's just right there for people who are interested in that retail business. If you love shopping, that might be your deal.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you find that jam and it's the first easy way to move into it. Think about this. The person that just developed the app that allowed you to scan a barcode and then marry it to the tech on eBay and get it priced out that you could see how much you could flip this, item for. That's pretty cool, right? Not only for the users like us who would flip products, but the person who was able to bring that together and fill that gap.
Yeah.
So there's spaces like that everywhere. fitness training or nutrition or real estate.
And then the question is just finding it, right? So let me ask you, right? So once you find a gap, right? Consistency is usually like a make or break point for a lot of people. A lot of people don't stick with it long enough or don't have something that's replicable, right? How important has consistency been, whether it's through your routine or whether it's through, your business processes in general? How important has that been while, throughout all your endeavors?
What's the key? It's the key. What's the principle of fitness, John? If you do it regularly, you improve.
Yeah.
Right? If I follow a regular nutrition schedule, I improve.
So, Chris, tell us a little bit about, how do you construct a good morning routine so that we can get in the process of building those daily good habits so that we can achieve success?
Start with the simple one. When you think about committing to doing something daily and you want to do it for a year, that vision of 12 months is way out in the future. And it's hard to envision that being a heavy weight to carry all 365 days. But what if it was just something simple? What if you could just drink a glass of water every morning as the first thing you do within 5 minutes of you getting up? Drink 6 to 10 ounces of water. If you start with your body beginning to feel better, take that step. That honestly, truthfully, my Sam, who was on the call, that's probably been the best habit that she reinforced was important, was the physical awareness and conscious health that you should have. And that is the best way to maintain the endurance.
And when it comes to your morning routine, how important is it to have someone to hold you accountable? A lot of times, it's very difficult when you're trying to start something new and you have no one there. But when you have to show up every morning at 8:15 and lead something, right? Or it doesn't even have to be leading a call, but it could be anything. How important is, having people to hold you accountable and having, friends, family, or allies kind of help you out with not only just your morning routine, but just habits in general?
So at different times, John, different things have motivated me. Like it hasn't always been this relentless commitment to consistency. Like we've got to be consistent every single day. Very often, what will you use that week to get that energy spike to do like a season of programming, like a month worth of shows? Like what would you use? So, I mean, those are the kinds of things that may go from one end to the other. Maybe it's just you want to have a streak. Say, I've ran a marathon. Didn't run the best marathon, the fastest or anything, but maybe that's what you wanted to do and you've done it. And then there's people who, what do they do? A marathon a week? 52? Holy Toledo. That probably began with a 5K somewhere or like some sort of family walk. Said, all right, I think I might be able to do this. Yeah. So like, if you can think of it that way, that, you're going to begin modestly with a vision, but use different stations of motivation along the way.
Yeah, no, definitely. Kind of like gamifying it. I know Snapchat, I don't know if people in your age bracket kind of use Snapchat, but Snapchat has this thing. I deleted it a while ago because it didn't really serve me at all. But if you send people photos every day, you start a streak, as you were saying.
Streaks.
Yeah, and people just send snaps to people. And you got to the point where people just send snaps for just the sake of keeping a streak alive, and people would just send like a snap of the wall or a snap of air or a snap of anything just to keep the streak alive. Yeah, and so kind of gamifying it is what I'm kind of hearing from you. And so I'd say when it comes to keeping that streak alive, there's some days where it's like you kind of just feel as if, you don't want things to really like, it would feel better if you just let it go, right? For those days, what do you do to make sure you still show up, make sure you still push through? Even on the days where it's like, I'd rather just, you just lose the streak, or I'd rather just not do the daily habit. I'd rather just not drink the glass of water.
Do it an hour earlier, and those questions become very, very significant. When we do it in the central time zone, it's like, oh Lord, everything's an hour earlier. And then I think about the people like Brent and his wife that do it at 5:30. Gosh, it's really not that bad. So what do you do to persevere with that is the thoughts at that moment about the commitment that you made to people who are showing up, and will the stories that they share with you, things like you hear on the call, I said this and this happened, this positive result. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? When they say, hey, I got the confidence from this call to go say this script and I earned an $8,000 commission out of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's when you think about it in different times, some of it is competitive, and some of it is just really gratifying or satisfying that you hear that from people, and you know that that's something that made a difference in their day, kept them persevering in this market, because the market's going to continue to change. I don't know if you know, fewer and fewer sales people are going to look around and reconsider what we've decided to do with their career.
Yeah, definitely. You kind of, and for anyone that doesn't know, Brent, some friends of ours that hop on the morning call that Chris runs every morning, Monday through Friday, pretty much without fail, essentially. At this point,
I don't want to. We have a whole group of people from California. I have a whole group. I don't want to miss anybody, but they just jump top of mind. I was doing some editing of a show, and I saw a funny thing he said a while back. So,
yeah, no worries. And so, let me ask you then. Kind of having the weight of people rely on you, right? How's that been kind of on you, and how have you been able to deal with that way? Because it comes with a lot of responsibility, right?
I've run big offices. We've had big teams, so it's not unfamiliar to me. When you've signed paychecks and had payroll, people's budget have counted on you to make sure you were running a business that was profitable and could cover the costs on the 1st and 15th, because that's when their funds came in. So, those are the kinds of things that, for me, that's not unfamiliar. It's been what we've done.
Yeah, but what advice would you give to the people that are looking to start their journey and that haven't run payroll companies, that haven't have big office experience?
When you begin with your own personal budget, manage that effectively. Simple as it is. One of my sons works at the Darden Restaurant Group, which is the Longhorn Steakhouse, Olive Garden chain, and they do a good job of moving the money around quickly to get people to understand budgeting. So as somebody who's seen that and how it interacts with people, that you have to start really paying attention to your own money. Pay attention to your own money, learn how to run a budget, appreciate what your labor has brought you. And then once you get to that level, you can really look from your own experience to a business and say, how is this business going to be set up so that it performs for the long haul? That you're running a profitable business, you're not burning through expenses, you're not overhiring people, and then in 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, or a year, having to lay them off because you didn't make the right budget decisions.
Yeah.
That begins with yourself. And as you grow, you find it because you're interested in the subject. I mean, if you're not into funeral sales, don't work at the funeral industry, right, John? Don't sell gravestones. So, if you find you have a real passion for it because you had a great experience with a funeral director, and it made you feel a certain way and you want to be in that industry, then my goodness, be in something you're passionate about and enjoy it.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Chris, right? So the dictionary definition of passion, right, is a barely controllable emotion, right? According to Oxford, right?
Okay.
So now let me get your thoughts on this, right? So you're pretty much telling people to follow the barely controllable emotions. How has that benefited you in business and in life in general when you followed your barely controllable emotion? This is just a random pop-up question that I want to get your thoughts on.
So let's compartmentalize the definition into a word: instinctive. Mm-hmm. What's instinctive to you?
Mm-hmm.
What's instinctive to the sheepdog? You don't need to teach it to protect the goats and the sheep, do you? What's instinctive to the donkey? The donkey protects the sheep. I mean, you don't need to tell him to get the coyotes. He hates coyotes and hyenas.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about yourself, if you love the gym, you love everything about the gym. If you love the taste and cuisine and flavor and the way combinations are put together, you just don't like grease, you might be the best sommelier ever because you understand taste. You just don't like food that much. So what's the passion for each person? I mean, if you look at a house and you go, oh my gosh, I had this really terrible experience with a house that had mold in it because of a leaky roof and a bad air conditioner. And then the flood came after we rebuilt it and washed half of it away. And then the contractors came and stole half the money. Every time you look at a house, it's anxious. You feel anxiety from these terrible memories. So real estate might not be your jam.
Mm.
So you've got to find that thing for yourself that's just instinctive. John, would you feel confident that somebody could pull me up on stage with a moment's notice and say, talk smartly about this piece of real estate content?
Yeah.
Mo Anderson knew that. She didn't really know me, but she pulled me up on stage when I first got to North Carolina in front of like 1,000 people and said, explain these 3 slides. So, I mean, there I was talking real estate stuff. Now, fly by the seat of your pants with a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of experience in it. But then what's instinctive? There's plenty of people who would have said, yeah, I'm not getting in front of that many people without being prepared there, Miss Anderson. I can't do that. No, Miss Anderson, no, I can't. They'd politely refuse. And that'd be natural, right? Who would want to get up in front and make a fool of themselves? So what's instinctive? When you see math formulas together, when you see sequences of fitness events together, you understand those outcomes.
So let me ask you, right? So with everything so fast paced now, it's pretty hard to get, time to, stop, think, slow down and get some clarity. How are you able to kind of get that clarity as to finding what's instinctive to you and realizing, hey, like this is something, because it's hard nowadays. Everyone just feels like they have to work. Everyone feels like, they're behind and they got to catch up and do whatever. So it's like people are just like, their brains are never in a mode to think. It's more go all the time. And it's hard to realize when you're constantly in a state of moving and pushing and, in motion.
Pick a time each day, meditate and pray. Pick a couple times each day to meditate or pray. And that would be the smartest thing you could do. Get around a group of people who share your faith and meditate and pray. And you'll find those gaps that are supposed to be there that we fill, maybe because we've had too much caffeine, right? But no, those gaps are there for us to have the pause in between that. And that's probably the most valuable time that you'll have in your whole day is time to think. And if you recognize that it's really valuable to you and you say, my gosh, I got a lot done because I thought, I wrote it out and then I executed it. You might decide that that's an important component of your day too. Like right after the glass of water, think about what you're going to do that day.
And so when it comes to goal setting, right, it's kind of like or to-do list, right? How do you not get carried away from the, just listing stuff for listing's sake? Because, right, a lot of people just, they start thinking, right, they drink the glass of water, think about what they have to do today, and it's just a bunch of things that doesn't matter, right? How do you prioritize? How do you know what's supposed to get done and what could be better off, pushing off for a couple of days or maybe later on in that day?
Well, you've got to decide on your priority schedule what's important within what you're responsible for. So if you have family obligations, obviously you've got family obligations. But when you have other time, how is it balanced out? Is it connected to things that are urgent, have to be done? And is that connected to your business during business hours? Nobody's saying do it on, if your church day is Sunday, nobody's saying take all day Sunday to do work. But if your work day is Thursday, it's 3 p.m., don't cut the grass, right? That can be done Saturday, or that can be done on Sunday afternoon, whenever you choose to do that. But if you're purposeful about it, ideally the daily checklist that we talk about, it's not just deciding right then what to do as a today checklist, but you've thought about the week and the intentions for the month and what will build you the thing that you want. Like going into the daily call every day to do a daily training event, John, there have been days you haven't been there. Truth. Right. And that's okay. I get it. Right. But I've had people come back after a period of time and say, I really needed a restart. And I'm so glad this is still going on.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Right. So when you think of that reward, when you decide to do that journey, it's hard. And 90 days into it, why are we still doing this? This is somebody else's thing to do. But in the end, it's really good to choose sometimes to do things that are challenging. Because in the end, I look back and even after this, there's a gentleman in Houston who, when we were there, we played baseball together with his family. And as a young man, he got cancer. And he decided to make a YouTube channel to document a daily vlog for his family. So he has like 4 years of daily content pieces back. This is like 8-year-old content. So it's like terrible cameras, terrible everything.
Yeah.
But he's got like 4 or 5 years of his kids growing up and him commenting on it. What's that legacy for his family? I hope YouTube doesn't shut it down, but my goodness, think about that. Think about what you can create just by doing something like that.
Yeah. And when it comes to thinking about, you mentioned, creating a legacy, you mentioned, thinking further out into what's the goals for the week, the month. What advice do you give to people so that they can give that future sight, I guess you would say, that planning, right? A lot of the time, especially younger, it's like it's difficult to think, and not even just in the younger generation, but with anyone, it's hard to think, have an outbound look of things. It's always constantly, as I said, like people are always scrambling about now, or they're stuck in the past, right? How can we get that, that clarity to see into the future, to know where we have to head to, and so that we can then use that to kind of figure out what we got to do today so that we can get to where we want to be in the future?
Figure out what serves other people that you like. So for instance, if you love doing the blessing basket and solving people's hunger concern, be the best food bank generator, lead generator, product supplier you could be. Because that way you'll be so satisfied knowing that children aren't hungry. Join the junior league and serve the underserved. Join a soup kitchen and physically serve the hungry. Join some type of group where you provide care for somebody else. See what fulfills you. If you find that fulfilling, imagine if you could just do more of it. So much of our society, John, is tuned in on us, and as a pursuit of fulfilling consumption or fulfilling inward-facing ideas, I believe the emptiness is filled by facing outward. And if we sought that, if young people were coached to seek it and just give it a shot, not just give $5 to the guy on the corner holding the sign, but get involved in something, right? Don't talk about it, go do it. And then come back with stories of that.
How do you come to that conclusion?
What do you mean?
How do you get to that point where you realize that service of others, what led you to come to that? Because it's, as I said, it's something that a lot of people is just, especially in our, it's like, it's always me, right? We're the center of our own worlds, right? Mm-hmm. How do you come to that conclusion that it's not really about us, it's about the people that we could help?
That's what God said.
Yeah.
I just listened to him.
Definitely. But and how are you able to act on it, right? Because then knowing is one thing, but then doing it, right? It's hard, right? Sometimes to step out of your comfort zone. It's hard to kind of go, against, I guess the norm. Because a lot of people, they say this, like, we get back. A lot of people throw, their fist up at Elon and say he should go solve world hunger, and they haven't helped out the soup kitchen ever in their life, right? So it's like, acting on is another thing. How are you able to act on, in service to others, not just know it's the right thing to do, but actually do the right thing?
Do you believe in the outcome of the mission? Like, what's the mission of the blessing basket? To give people dry goods. It's not just for today, right? I mean, it's, we're hoping they're going to give them at least 3 days of food. It's like, that's the mission. What's the mission of the Super Feast in Houston? To give away food, is to make sure people have food on Thanksgiving. So can you believe in the mission? Telling somebody else to do something, that's just being a Karen. Stop telling people what to do. Go lead them to do something, build a group of people willing to do it, and go implement it. There's holes in society that need people just to show up and babysit for junior league, that just need you to help facilitate and hand out things at an event. I don't know, find the one that's purposeful for you and that benefits other people. Not just protest for protest's sake, but go fix gaps that you see that you believe in. If it's education, go read to children. It's free, right? You'd have to register at the school, and you could go be a presenter in front of a group of fourth graders, and you could read to them, because schools need people to read to them. Mm-hmm. If it's not you, if it's a spiritually based thing, check into your faith community, see what they have to offer.
When it came to finding places where you could help, right? Let's both in your experience as a real estate agent and then also in the fitness industry, where did you start off? Who did you reach out first to help? Where did you see first, the opportunity? And are those opportunities, do you think those opportunities are still available in today's, for example, if someone wanted to get into either of those spaces? Are those still available today?
I would think so. The solution is we built a good one in Houston. The operators that we still have in Houston, they've got some good hands-on accounts, but Houston's grown in size by 20%. So could some other service provider come in and capture market share of that fitness company? Sure. But Houston's grown by 20% in real estate too, right? So, that's an opportunity for those people in real estate to get, real estate business. So where would people find the gaps? You just have to seek where people are doing the thing. So if you're looking to provide service to schools, daycare centers, go to there. It's where the children are. That's who consumes your service. If you're looking for a real estate business, where are people coming and staying when they come to town if they don't buy? So if your goal is to work with out-of-town buyers, they're all in rental situations. Are you just talking to people in rental situations?
Yeah, definitely. And so, Chris, I kind of wanted to ask you, right, from all these, different endeavors you kind of were able to hop into, right? What's one of the biggest takeaways that your biggest themes that kind of ran across all of them, I guess, that kind of helped you find? And you mentioned service, but how can we serve for serving's sake and not serve for, to chase whether it's real estate, a commission check, or maybe it's, to put food on the table, right? Because a lot of times when you get antsy, when you don't have a sale for it takes a while to get started, it's hard to genuinely serve others because you have it on the back of your mind, like, hey, if I don't get this, it's, I may not be able to pay rent or keep the lights on or do X, Y, Z. So any commission-based stuff or entrepreneurship where, it's not guaranteed, right? Nothing's guaranteed. How do you maintain that mindset of service?
I recognize that people who have been in this business longer than me, far more successful than me, have all told stories of bankruptcy and potato chip sandwiches and all that kind of very lean living situations. I've seen people go through divorces, lose millions and millions of dollars, yet 2 years later, 3 years later, be on stage, recognized as a significant bounce back producer. So in this particular industry, there's enough examples of normal looking humans without extraordinary technology or anything other than just being intentional about their time, come back from illness and significant personal issues and significant family issues, significant issues all across the board in the scope of every life event you can possibly imagine. And yet in this industry, they have the opportunity to bounce back. So for the other industry, the fitness industry is different. I mean, it was a different company, but in the space I am today, the real estate space and the coaching space, the opportunities to me when I see this, it's going to be hard for your first year. But I know enough people, not that they're average, they're amazing, but in 2 years they cap twice. You're making the jam. Now you're not making $1 million, but you found your niche. You found how to succeed. Yeah. Now, if you didn't like it, I hoped along the way you realized that and you maybe found a different way to serve the business, serve the industry, or found another industry to get excited about. Yeah, definitely. And what advice would you give to anyone that they could take away from this episode and start implementing in their life today to start moving forward in their walks to wealth? Your physical health is the most valuable asset you've ever been given. And the more you implement simple things like the water tactic, have a glass of water every morning, first 5 minutes before you get up, it's easier to implement diet moderation that makes sense. It's easy to implement physical fitness that makes sense so that you intentionally maintain this physical being so that all the thinking can naturally come up in a really easy and pain-free way, right? You don't want to, it's not easy to think when you're all, achy and sore and dehydrated and broken down. So treat it well and do stuff you love. Find things that you have an impact in and deliver for that. And know that that's the good graces you've given to other people. And that's really, when you do it enough, you find the reward in it. I mean, I do a bunch of different stuff, even outside of what we talked about today, like speaking, professional speaking and things. And people have come up to us years and years later and have just really been grateful for what we've contributed at that time as presenters along some other themes of content. And that's impactful. I mean, if people use the time that you've given away to help causes and come back years later and reflect on how it impacted them, that's a far better blessing than any kind of commission check or other thing that you're given. Yeah, definitely. Alrighty, Chris. So you dropped a lot of nuggets today. Where can we connect with you at? Where can we find you at if we wanted to connect more and learn more about what you got going on? So we're all over every platform you can imagine. So the daily broadcast, the daily broadcast is on Facebook Live, but it's also on Zoom at scripsjedi.club. You can find our vlog and podcast on the YouTube at Realtor Mentor is the handle. But if you search Scripps Jedi on YouTube, you'll find it. We're also on the TikTok and the Instagram where we post short clips. So you can see what the show is about. You can see some of the questions that we ask, we dialogue around and get people ready for their real estate day. And so that's what we do every weekday morning from 8:15 until 9 at scriptsjedi.club, C-L-U-B, scriptsjedi.club, and you can join in and check it out for yourself.
Amazing. And now it's time for the final 4 questions, the way we end every podcast interview. Question number 1, what is the most impactful lesson you've learned in life?
Regularity is the highest level of achievement.
Explain.
It's either going to be one-word answers. I thought this was like being consistent, regularity and consistency. Having a reasonable batting average is batting 700 is not realistic. You'll never hit that in life. Little leaguers, you'll never hit 700 in life.
What is the most admirable trait a person can have?
Loyalty.
If you had to change someone's life for one book, which book would you recommend?
The Bible.
And what is the legacy that you're trying to leave behind?
That the people who God has given me to bring into this world know how to impact it.
Amazing. Chris, it was a pleasure getting some time to interview today. Thanks again for hopping on. I know it took a while to get this scheduled, but everything happens for a reason, right?